Hi, this is Mr. Spencer with kind of a last minute, last chance opportunity for students to do a little practice before the SAT test on April 12th. It's coming up this Tuesday in the year 2016. We did have several success sessions. They were optional ones in January and February where we did previews of the different SAT tests, the ACT work keys, and so on. We had some students attend, a lot of students did not. I know a lot of you have been doing practice tests, practice test items, learning more about the SAT at your particular high schools. But I thought I would record a quick video showing you the resources that you could use anytime between now and Tuesday just to get a little practice. And I really feel that some kind of practice, any kind of practice, will help you. If nothing else, look at some of the practice items. I recommend, if you can, get a complete practice test in sometime between now and let's say Sunday evening. I think it will help you. You're on break right now, so depending on when you get this message and get a chance to look at this, there's plenty of time to do a complete practice test, because then you actually get a feel for the timing of the test. Okay, two resources I want to show you, and then it'll be up to you how much you want to use them. The first is actually the College Board site, and the College Board is the organization that actually creates and scores the SAT. So if you go to collegeboard.org, the address is right up here. This is the page that you will arrive at. Under the students column right here, you'll see a link to SAT, and click on that. You can explore the site however you'd like, but I'm just going to try to show you a few things, and then we're going to go to the Khan Academy site, which is another training site, and both of these sites have several complete practice tests that you can take. First of all, I want to show you a few things in the inside the test section. So if you click on this, you will see it's not a real glamorous website, but it's got a lot of information. This section inside the test just lets you know a little bit about the test in general. Off to the left, you'll see the different tests that you will take on test day, including the reading test, the writing and language test, and the math test. There will also be an essay that you will take to round out your testing on Tuesday the 12th. You don't really need to worry about the content changes, since this will be the first SAT you'll be taking. It is a newer version than what students might have taken last year. I think the other thing to check on, other than these four right here, the reading test, the writing and language, math, and the essay, is down here where it says the SAT study guide for students. And I'm going to click on that just for a second. You can basically, what happens when you open up these sections is you're getting PDF files or pages of actually a book that they had put together. But if you do some of the practice items and you're seeing a certain type of problem, you're not sure how they're getting the answer, how you're doing it, this guide will have details on the different types of items and how they're created and so on. For example, if I click on the evidence-based reading and writing exam, I'm going to click on this little blue arrow. There are different kinds of items. There's an about the SAT reading test, so this will have some more specifics on that. Different kinds of reading questions. And then what I'll do is actually, let me just click on one of these. So this says about the SAT writing and language test. So what you'll see is it'll open a PDF file. It's a lot of reading, so I don't know if you have a lot of time to do this, but if you're curious, dig into it. Again, many of you, if you're in town or even if you're out somewhere on vacation and you have some time, it might be worth getting in here and just learning a little bit more about it. So you'll see when you click on that, it opens up chapter 13 of what would be, of course, a larger book that they publish. But all the information is here about, in this case, the writing and language test. And then it links to, it talks about the format and so on, and there are some sample items. So again, this is the SAT student guide. That's how I got into that, which is off to the left here, the study guide. So, but you don't have to do that. Time is getting a little short, so you may want to spend your time maybe clicking on something like the reading test, for example. And it will talk a little bit in general about the reading test, the types of things you'll be reading, and so on. Again, I'm not going to take time right now to go into all this. The information is there. I recommend that you at least read through some of these general pieces of information about it. I know I'm scrolling pretty fast through this. Now, the key is I do suggest that you try some of the sample questions. If you haven't done a lot of this at school yet, or any of it, or even if you've done a little bit but not too much, go back in and look at some of the sample questions. I'm going to click right here at this link to go to them. What you'll see first is actually the directions that would be read to you. So you might want to look these over and get kind of familiar with them, and then you can go on to the first question. And each screen will have just one question and one set of answers to choose from. Okay, the whole reading passage is here. So it says questions 1 to 5 are based on the following passage. So you'll get an idea about the level of one of the reading passages, the length of the passages, and they're all pretty uniform when it comes to the length. That's it, the bottom. That looks like there's about 44, 45 lines in this, not too much. And then you've got your question. Over the course of the passage, the main focus of the narrative shifts from, and of course we're not going to take time to read that right now, but you would have 4 choices. If I choose B, and I'm just randomly guessing right now, I have chosen that. Basically it's saying that's not right. I'm going to click view the correct answer, and then it actually says choice C is the best answer, and then it kind of tells you why. It actually explains why B is not the best answer. Okay, so again, there's plenty of information here. If you focus on your practice, each of these, then you'll kind of not only get more comfortable with the items, but also how they approach these different items and maybe some strategies used to tackle them. The other thing I'll show you, and we'll just go to one more item, and then we'll go back and I'll show you some other things, is at the top you'll see some little marks, almost like they would do a hashtag or something like that, a tag of this item. And what it tells you is that this is an item that can appear on the SAT exam. It might appear on the PSAT and the PSA 10 and so on. It's also the type of question they call rhetoric, or in that section. Now you might be saying, well, what is that? And if I hover over that, I could click on this and it would say learn more about rhetoric and how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then there's the section on rhetoric, and basically it's getting in, for example, how the author's selection of words and phrases shapes the meaning and tone of the passage, how a passage is structured. So it's not going to be specific information, but more about the structure of the passage itself. And then there's different test types here. So if I go back, the other thing to show you is this is a U.S. and world literature passage. There's different kinds of passages you will read during the test. Science is one of them, and the literature, and then there's a social studies as well as 1 or 2 others. Okay, so we can go through. There's 24 questions, plenty of samples here. It's not a complete reading test, but it does give you a good idea of what the questions are like. Okay, so here's the same passage, question number 2. And this is another rhetorical question or question about the rhetoric and so on. Okay, so that's the practice items, and you can do the same with all of these. Let me exit out of this, go back to over here again. We're looking at inside the test and these different items, and you can do the same for math and so on. Again, I'm going to leave it up to you to explore once you know what's here. Now, the other thing I want you to be aware of, under practice, I believe, yes, here we go. So I clicked on the practice link on the left. There's a daily practice app you can get for your phone. It's a little late for that, but you can explore that and see what it's like. But this is the area that I want you to focus on, the SAT practice tests. And so if you click on that and we scroll down some, there's actually 4 complete practice tests that you can take. Here's test 1 right here. Again, it's a PDF that opens, so you, rather than print the whole thing, you'd probably want to have your iPad or a computer handy. There is actually a scoring sheet. If I click on this, you can actually get the practice, bubbling it in. That's what your answer sheet is going to look like. Many of you have experience, with something like this and bubbling in. Many of you did the PSAT in the fall. So that's there. But I recommend doing this. There's actually a sheet to help you score it, but I don't know that I would get into that. You can if you want. This section right here is practice test 1 answer explanation. So this can help you, once you score your sheet in terms of what's right and what's wrong, then you can get explanations as to why number 22 was B and not C and so on. Okay? But here's the whole practice test. If I click on that, I'll get a PDF, and it will look just like what you're going to see on Tuesday. So I encourage you to at least look at this. You can see how much time you have. You can set a timer and so on. And here's what the reading passages are going to look like. So maybe you print out just 4, 5, 6 pages and you can get a feel for the text size and everything. The more familiar you are with it, the better you're going to do. You're just going to be more comfortable when the test actually starts. Okay? So those are the practice tests on the College Board site. Now what's cool about the next site we're going to go to, the Khan Academy site, is that you can also take complete practice tests, but they can be done online. Now that can be a little tougher when it comes to reading, but your test is scored automatically. So you can see what your SAT score would be, what your math score would be, and what your the writing and reading score would be as well. Okay, I clicked over to the Khan Academy site, and the address for that is up in the upper left here, khanacademy.org. I have signed in. I've created an account as a student, but right now I'm logged out. So I want you to see, if you go to Khan Academy, what you're going to see initially. I am going to click on Start Learning Now to get you one more step in. And I can go to subjects, which I'll do, but I'm going to want to sign in just to kind of show you, what it looks like, and I've already done some of this. So under subjects, again, I have not signed in yet. I'm going to go to Test Prep, okay, right here. And when I go over into this purple section, it'll say New SAT starting March 2016. Don't practice what they call the current SAT, because it's no longer current. That was ended a couple months ago. You'll never take that older version. Okay, so we click on the new SAT. All right, and you can see there is you'll find information on reading and writing, just like the College Board site, math, and so on, and then the tips and planning. And all this is good information. Spend time exploring this. Okay. Don't ignore it. This has huge implications when it comes to getting accepted into colleges and then earning scholarships once you are accepted. Okay. What I'm going to do though is click on the upper right where it says Practice for the SAT. Now it's asking me to sign in or sign up. I am going to sign in because I do have an account already. And my username, Science Pete, from back in the day when I was a science teacher. And my password, and sign in. And because I'm already underway, it's kind of a cool site, because if you have been doing some on this, and many of you have, you know that it kind of keeps track of what you've done and so on. So right now it's asking me, or it's saying I can resume learning, and there's different things that I've started. This one is in general, the SAT in general. I've done a little bit with the reading and writing under the practice. I've clicked on the tips and planning section and the math. So I've pretty much done all of these. What I'm going to do is click on this one first, just the overview of the test. Okay, and again, you guys are going to have to explore this. I'm just trying to show you a little bit of what's there. Right in the middle here, you can see where it says practice reading and writing or practice math. Okay, and so those are both good areas, things to work on if you haven't. I want you to see something else. It says exam scores. Now, I have not completed a full practice exam. They would show up here if I did, which would be pretty cool. I encourage you to do that if you haven't. Find a couple hours, a little bit more than that, and get them done. To view the exams, I would click right here where it says View Full Exams. And over to the left, you'll see this is Practice Exam 1, and then there's Practice Exam 2, 3, and 4. Okay. In this case, I would click on Start, and off I would go. And it would start a timer. It says after completing a section, you can stop or review. You can't stop in the middle of a section. You can't do 10 questions and then run down and get dinner and come back, but you can stop after the reading segment, which it says is 65 minutes. But this one is a good idea because it times you and it gives you an idea of how much time you can take for your different sections. I can't go on to the writing and language until I've done the reading and so on. So What's cool about this again is that your scores will automatically appear on your dashboard. So I'm going to go back to that. And again, no scores there. The other thing I want to have you see what's here is the tips and planning section. Some of these are videos. This looks like a pause button. I've already started the video, so that's why. If I hadn't, it would look like a play button. Okay, so you can actually see a video about this. Like the College Board, there's some sections you don't really need to worry about. It says format changes to the new SAT. Well, you can look at that if you want. You don't know the old SAT, so the changes necessarily won't be important. This icon is a document or a web page. Okay, so a little bit of information on the practice, and then there's information on the math test and so on. Okay. The SAT math test has several kinds of problems. In other words, this section called the Heart of Algebra, a problem solving and data analysis section, and then something called Passport to Advanced Math and Additional Topics. So if you're wondering what are they going to ask me, you can click on these sections and it will have information about them along with some examples at the bottom of what types of things you might be asked. Okay. So that is, when I click on that, remember that's under Tips and Planning. That's the segment that I was in right there. But I do encourage you especially to click on like the overview of each test. I just clicked on the SAT reading test overview, and it describes, the number of items and so on. You can also click around off to the left on different sections. You can jump back and forth, whatever you want. Okay. So finally, the last thing to show you here, and then I will end this video and you can get to work, is that when it comes to the practice. Remember, I showed you the full exams. When you click on practice, you can actually take a couple of smaller quizzes. They're to diagnose where you're strong and where you're weak. And so there's two. I don't know if you can read this. I'll try to zoom in a little bit more. There's a math segment. If I click on this tab, and it says Quiz 1 Math, no calculator, Quiz 2 Math, no calculator, and then there's a 3 and a 4 where a calculator can be used. And that's like the SAT Math. There's a section that you can use a calculator, there's a section where you cannot, but it's all part of the math section. I could click on the Reading and Writing tab, and that would also give me 4 quizzes, 2 on the reading test and 2 on the writing and language test. And I think there are about 20 items. And then they will give you a score and kind of let you know how you're doing. Okay, just to show you how that works based on either some practice items I've taken or a few of the quiz questions, I'm getting 3 little pieces out of 4 on the reading science pie. So actually I'm doing okay with that. But let's say that I want to do more work in literature. So I can click on the practice part. And you can see I have questions, a reading passage, and then of course the questions. And there's 11 questions on this, and you can go ahead and get hints and things like that. So it's a pretty cool site. It's definitely more interactive and graphically appealing than the College Board site, but some students want just a straightforward, give me the practice test and what it looks like. Others, you can get more of the activity with the Khan Academy site. Okay, I could go on for probably another 5 or 10 minutes showing you things, but I'm going to leave it up to you to explore. I'm going to exit this practice right now, go back to my dashboard, and you get little points and things like that, when you sign in. So with that being said, I encourage you to get to work, do some practice, even if it's just one math practice test. Do something if you haven't done it recently. I guarantee it's going to help your score the more familiar you are with the test. Okay? So get to work and good luck.